I want attacking, purposeful football all the time. Now we're going to have backs against the wall and we're going to fight, and we're going to fight hard. You've got to show me all the guts and all the determination you've got in your body. You've got to inspire me.
A marvellous kick. That's as good as you'll ever see. And puts Graham back in front.
I don't know about you guys, but if I see one bloke walking out of here, give the pat on the back from people out there for a good effort, I'll spew up.
From inside the centre square, Boyd kicked the goal. Boyd kicked the goal. From inside the centre.
Hey Pack, welcome to Danny and Boydy. It's a podcast about your favourite footy team, my favourite footy team, everyone in the whole world who has brains' favourite footy team. That is the Footscray Football Club, Proprietary Limited. They're Traders Western Bulldogs. I'm Danny McGinlay. Tom Boyd is literally in the room with me.
Members, life members, the two of us, as they say.
I'm not officially a life member.
No, but you are a member.
I am a member. And I have been for a lot of my life.
That's
yeah.
right. So you really are a life member. It is good to be back together. Me and Donald have not seen each other in
months.
2 and a bit months.
Yeah.
It's been crazy.
In the same room. Where'd you go? Denmark,
Italy, Greece, Paris.
What's your favourite?
Well, we were in Paris without the child, so that was pretty good.
Yeah, that's good.
No, just joking. I would say, Italy was probably the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, question without notice. You know that you go to a lot of pubs now, high-end pubs, and they'll do genuine Italian pizzas, and it's a bit of flatbread with like 3/4 of a wheelbarrow of rocket on top. Do you get those pizzas in Italy?
Well, firstly, I don't know what pubs you're talking about because I do not go out and order pizza at pubs.
No, I know,
ever.
but I see.
You're
see
saying
fools.
in general.
Yeah.
In general, yeah. No, so, but let me say this about Italy. As good of a place as it is, after 2.5 weeks there, I was so sick of dough that I thought that I was going to headbutt a concrete steep set of staircases, which is everywhere in Italy too, because it was just like every single place was the same menu, barring 10 or 15%. And I know we're in Italy and there's Italian culture. Like, I love it. Great.
Yeah.
But we're so spoiled for variety here in Australia that at some stage I was like, there's got to be meat on the menu somewhere. And the only meat they have over there has been salt cured in pink salt for the last, 25 months or whatever. So, let me, this is, okay, we'll get into the full, Tom's an idiot, and we'll let him whinge for 5 seconds, even though this is the most ridiculous whinge that I've ever heard in my life.
Go on. It's not even a first world problem. This is a top 1%. Top 0.1%. Welcome to Millionaires Complain.
Here's my issue, right? If everyone in Italy got together and fixed prices, I would be happier.
Oh, is it all over the shop, is it?
Well, you walk into some places and you go, oh, this is great. Here's a €10 pasta. It's fresh, homemade in-house that day. Simple, to your question about the stupid rocket pizzas. None of that stuff. Just all simple, great ingredients.
Yep.
I'm like, great, awesome. €10 or €12. Aperol Spritz, €6. Having a great time. Beers, $4. No dramas. Then you go to the next place and you go, this place must be so nice. This pasta's €23.
Oh, this is going to be good.
And it's not. It's the same.
Egg noodle and ketchup.
It's the same stuff, and it's almost identical. And the same with the pizzas, and the Aperol Spritz must be €19. And you're like, it's all the same. You're not using champagne in these Aperols. You just put a different price in a different glass.
Yep.
And I think that was my whole thing that really frustrated me about that place is you can't know what you're going to get for the price that you're willing to pay, and the exchange rate is so shit that you're like, so I just paid $45 for a pizza I could have got down the street.
Yeah.
That was my only issue. And they did feel like in some of the places, they were taking the piss a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's the most you paid?
Oh, the most expensive Aperol I bought, I reckon, was €22, which
so
is
that's like
$40.
Yep.
There's nothing in Aperol. It's Aperol and Spritz.
Yes.
And you can get the Aperol prices over there are cheap as chips. It costs you about €10 or €12 for a whole bottle.
So you're paying for the spritz.
I'm paying for the experience, I suppose. But they, that was in nicer restaurants, of course, when we went out, and it's a rare occasion to those places because Rani was more of a, she's more of a pub girl.
Yeah, fair
There's
enough.
no pubs over there.
No pubs in Italy.
So you go to the local.
That's what I struggled with.
Yeah, we just went to the local pasta-y place, that wasn't upmarket, didn't have too many expectations, had cats and stuff roaming around at your feet.
Yeah.
That was her element. So we had a great trip. And, it distracted me from the, layers of disappointment that we all felt at the end of the year, which we are slowly but surely all dealing with through professional counselling or other means. And now we've gotten to the point where we all have to pretend like we care about the most stupid and boring experience of the year being the 10-day trade period.
Oh, it's a nightmare, isn't it? So I actively, there seems to be a variety of people. Some people fully get into trade week, and they're like, there's one bloke in my WhatsApp group. He's listening now. G'day, Mick. And he was posting everything in the WhatsApp group. So much so, I said to him at one point, I said, mate, you might as well post the horoscopes. Because it's just rumours.
And here's the other thing. So I think the fundamental thing that people need to understand, when you go through and you hear there's potential deals, but there's always deals that are going to happen. Like the McRae one's one, we know Jacko wants to leave, we know Caleb wants to leave.
Yeah.
All that was holding that up was one club and their willingness to trade like pick 30 or pick 45. And that's all that was holding it up. Because as soon as the pick swap happened, everyone got what they wanted.
Yeah.
And so the reason why those deals there's like 10 deals that happen at the last minute, it's only one deal that happens. All the other deals have been agreed to, and they're just waiting for that one club who's holding it up to cave. And then once they cave, the dominoes fall and so on and so forth. Because at the end of the day, I heard, and maybe we should talk about the elephant in the room, the Bailey Smith stuff, which is probably the most polarising of the lot. And, Anna, my wife, tried to show me some of the comments that obviously went after the Bulldogs posted a farewell. It wasn't very nice.
Nah.
Wasn't a great place to be. And I said, Anna, I love reading Instagram comments of those types of things. If I'm like 25 steps removed, it's in a different country, it's a different thing. Yeah. Like, I love that stuff.
If you're reading about the Edmonton Oilers, easy.
Yeah,
we don't
and
know
it's
these
some
people.
bloke going, I want to go elsewhere, and then someone's like, oh, why are you doing this? Yada yada yada, and someone comments back and they go, oh shit, did he not run it by you before he left? Like, I love that stuff. Like when people who feel ownership over other people on the internet.
Yeah.
And then someone just comes in with the sarcasm bomb and just goes, he didn't check with you? Oh,
so
that's
annoying.
horrible. Sorry. But this one, a bit too close to home, so I didn't read them. But, I saw the differences in opinion of just, let's get rid of him, let him walk, yada, yada, all of that sort of stuff.
All of that, yeah.
Bailey was going to get to where he wanted to get to no matter what. And that's the fair or unfair part of trade period and being in a position where he's out of contract and so on and so forth. And the best and only thing we can do for our club, which is the one that we care about most, is to get the most amount of value back in a position where we had zero leverage.
Yep.
And it was obvious that we weren't going to keep him. So we end up getting something.
Which we get pick 17?
Something like that.
Yep.
Which is a great result realistically for, we had 2 or 3 really good years at Bailey, I would say.
Yeah. Yep.
We'd have obviously a year of injury. We've had a bit of a tumultuous sort of last 2 or 3 years. And now we get a good pick back. And look, again, for all that you may not like some of his actions, I would say the best thing we can do is wish him to go well when he gets down to the Cattery. Good. I don't want him to play well against us. But I don't want his career, he has such a promising career. I would like to see his career succeed.
Absolutely. He can do well against 16 of the 17 clubs.
Good
By the
math.
way,
I was counting in my head for a second. I'm like, we don't count us.
we don't count us, we don't count them.
Yeah, got it.
Well, no, he can play well in an intra-club match.
Yeah, as many intra-club matches
You
as
could
he'd like.
actually dominate.
Yeah.
I want you to do the best
Actually, no, we don't want that because that means he's likely going to play well at the Cattery, which means we're going to have to play him down there and he's going to play well against us.
By the way, dovetail, Jake Stringer going to GWS.
Yeah, last minute too.
When he kicks 5 goals against us, that will be funny. Not at the time. At the time, I will hate it. But in a few years later, I will look back at the irony and go, yeah.
we won't go too deep into that one, but let me just say, interesting. I just don't know. I don't know, to be clear, I don't know enough to be really, but my feeling is it doesn't make a lot of sense for their team. That's all. Because Jesse was Hogan was such a prolific forward this year in a team that didn't really need any other goal kickers around him other than the small forward. So they sort of had this magic mix up there, and that's not why they lost. They should have been in a prelim.
Oh, yeah, man, they choked hard against
and it's
the
sort of,
Lions.
Jake and Jesse are both sort of undersized goal-kicking forwards.
Yeah.
Right? But Jake doesn't have the mark. I don't know. I just don't know how that fits, but, we'll find out, I suppose.
Yeah.
It'll either fit well or it really won't.
I'm trying to see. So we got pick 17. for Bailey Smith. I'm trying to look up who were the best pick 17s of all time. And I'm looking, Kyle Langford at Essendon.
He's a good
player. We got Clay Smith at pick 17. I'd say he's probably
Clay
the best.
pick 17?
He was pick 17, according to draftguru.com.au.
Probably correct.
Apart from that, you got McWalter. I'm just looking at.
Is he coach now?
Is it? Oh, he's too. That's why I knew
coach?
it. We got Cameron Faulkner. He played only a couple of seasons at the Bulldogs. But he had one of the best debuts ever. It was against the Kangas in Canberra, and he got like 3 goals with his first 5 kicks. And then we didn't win
it's
much around
ominous,
then.
that, isn't it?
I know.
It always goes the wrong way.
Kim Costa's another one we've got. Angelo Lekis. He was a good player.
Well, these are all our players, are you saying?
No, Angelo Lekis was I'm just going through it, looking at all the 17s.
Of course, yeah.
The ones I recognise are the Bulldogs.
If I say anything stupid on this podcast, I did a speaking engagement in Shepparton this morning at 6:30. So it is currently 1:15 and my brain has been talking for far too long today.
I did a gig in Shepparton earlier in the year, and I had this oddest heckler. This kid, he was not a kid. He was about 15, and I won't use the word he used, but I'll tell this story. Young fella in the front row, and I'm like, "Oh, young fella, how old are you, mate?" He goes, 15. I go, "Sweet. Do you work? Do you go to school?" He goes, "I go to school." I go, "What school do you go to?" He said a school, and I went, "Oh, is that a good school?" And he went, "Nah, it's for a certain word like me." A word that began with S.
I was going to say, I thought you were just going to use R, to be honest.
They're interchangeable.
Yeah, in that context.
And it was so unexpected. I repeated the word. I went, "Did you just say?" And then I said the word back in, and I got in trouble from the promoter for using that word.
Oh, wow, all's fair in love and war.
Yeah, good old Melbourne Comedy Festival.
It was such a strange experience last night. So I drove up there because obviously the early start, and they put me up in a place called the Parkdale or something. And I'm like, it would just be a Shepparton motel. It'll be fine. Shepparton's a big town.
Yeah.
The motels will be fine. I drive into this place and I'm like, geez, big restaurant out the front. Like,
I think I stayed there.
Yeah, where you drive through the undercover of the archway. Yeah.
I stayed there.
So anyway, I'll drive in there and I go up to the receptionist and she goes, and I go, "I'm just here to check in." And I was like trying to find my booking. She goes, "Tom?" I'm like, "Yes, thank you."
Hey.
So she goes, "Oh, you're in this room." And I walk into it and I'm like, me and which army is sleeping in here?
It was big.
It was the biggest room that I've ever seen. I walked in, dead set. I could have had a 10 to 15 person football viewing match. Like, this is not a word of exaggeration. There was like a full couch twice as big as the one I'm sitting on now.
Yeah.
And then there was 3 or 4 like big like chairs and a big flat screen on the wall and a huge area you could sit down and put a couple of beanbags. A kitchen.
What?
This was all in the living room.
Yeah, no, we didn't get those.
A fridge. Like a big fridge.
Yeah.
And then I walked into my bedroom and the bedroom's through double doors.
Holy crap.
And there's a massive king and I could fit 4 kings in this room. And then the bathroom has got a huge circular tub in it that would have been 1.5 meters in diameter. And it's all brand new. It was like schmick ass. And I was like,
you're in the fancy room.
I was like, Anna, I don't know if they booked me in the wrong room, but this is kind of terrifying. And it was overwhelming. I thought there was other people living in there with me.
Whenever you get a really good room when you're on the road, for work or whatever, do you always like text your wife, go, "Get up here, get up here"?
I did. As soon as I got there, I called her and I go, "Should have brought you."
Yeah. You can come up here. We can put the baby in the next room.
You know what? I actually think this is the worst part. When I get a room like that, I'm like, they could have just given me the extra $200 and given me a stock room. Because if you paid 400 for it, I don't need 400. I just need 200.
That is on brand for you, Tom Boyd.
My whole thing, like, I actually really quite like. I have a really sort of important place in my heart for the dingy country motel room.
Yes.
$105 a night with those cookies in the morning.
Which
are from
Cooker brand.
Donald. Which I actually met the lady who makes them.
Yep.
The factory that makes it.
It was a little bit stale.
There's a lemon.
There's
There's a lemon one with a mixture in the middle, and then there's
a yo-yo thing.
Yeah, like a yo-yo looking thing.
Yep.
And that's perfect for me. Instant coffee, heart starter in the morning.
Damn straight.
I'm all for it.
UHT milk in a Prima.
Yeah, that's fine too. Don't mind that. As long as they've got enough heart starters, that's all I need.
Yeah.
Because I haven't slept well. Obviously, the bed's
hang on, with the Parkdale, when I was there was no like Foxtel or digital TV or
I
anything.
did turn the TV on.
I had to watch free to air.
Oh, rough. Might have to watch Happy paying attention.
Great show.
Front bar.
Great shows.
Or Game Day. Oh, it's not on anymore.
All right.
Well, you didn't get cancelled. You just got cancelled by association.
We got cancelled by. Well, we didn't get cancelled. We got. They just stopped making it. I suppose that's cancelling, but because of COVID.
Oh yeah, okay. They didn't cancel us. They just stopped doing it.
Oh man. Well, I mean, officially, my ABC Grandstand show was not cancelled. We were just not renewed. Just different.
Yeah, that's just like losing in the contract negotiation, basically.
I remember I asked Peter Hellier once, because you remember Rove Live was on Channel 9 and then it was onto Channel 10. I'm like, did you get axed from Channel 9 or did you just move it? He goes, officially, we're still waiting to hear back.
Oh, right. Exactly. And that is the world, right? It's like you can either hear the news you don't want to hear or you can move on.
So that's what, so Bailey Smith was just, we're still waiting to hear back if he's going to play next year.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. It'd be interesting to see how he goes. You know, the game doesn't get any easier after a knee and, you know.
Yeah. Well, if any club can bring him round, it's Geelong. But
I also will say that footy clubs are really accepting of players that might have had a bad stereotype in the public eye. So, look, I'm not having a go at Jake Stringer, but like Jake's had a lot of publicity about whether he's been fit enough and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
I can guarantee he'll walk in and the Giants, the first thing they'll do is they'll give him every benefit of the doubt. The players all bring him on board. They'll get it'll be great.
Yeah.
But the problem is that because you've had a perception of one way, they are still like going to be more sensitive to seeing those traits come through if you start being, you know, the exact same thing that they heard you were from a different club. So it is it's going to be interesting, say, for Bailey to walk into a place like the Cattery, which, you know, has got a lot of leniency on training and those types of things. They're very like, just be here whilst we need to do our stuff, and we're going to do our stuff really well, really professionally, but then we're just going to go home. We're not going to waste time, because a lot of clubs do that. It's absolutely abhorrent. And then,
what do you mean waste time? As in like sitting through meetings and?
Well, here's a good example. So on a Tuesday when we were going really well, we would be like, don't get into one and go in for your first physio. You don't have to get in before you have a physio. Get into the meeting, go to training. We'll do weights straight afterwards. You can do half your weights before, half your weights after the session. You're there for 5 hours. And that's like a main day. It's like a full day. As we started to get shitter, it was then like, no, we're going to have a meeting at 11.
Oh.
And then you're going to go have an hour off for lunch. I don't want lunch. I'll eat lunch at home.
Yeah. An hour off for lunch.
And then you got to remember, as I said, so then there's 3 slots of physio or whatever. So you might not have anything till 2. So then you got 2 hours.
Ugh.
And then you got to go, and it's the same thing. And then it was like, no, all the weights after training. And then it's like, okay, so I leave at 9. So now I've done 10-hour day.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not just having to go to the board. It happens everywhere. It happened, you know, from all accounts. After Richmond were really good, then they turned again. Now they went from training, you know, 20 hours a week, which again, I'm not trying to say that their players shouldn't, you know, aren't getting paid to be professional. I'm saying they don't need to be there all day, every day, because it's not going to make them any better.
Yeah.
They need to get in, train at 110%, do everything perfectly, and then get out of there.
The Gary Ablett style.
Yeah, well, this is the exact Geelong thing.
Yeah.
But the other thing that keeps that in check and say, you know, the reason why the Bulldogs shifted away from it, in maybe there's a few factors, but similar with Richmond, like once you dip off the performance curve and you start going down and getting worse, people feel paranoid that they don't have enough control.
Yeah.
So they go, oh, we got to know what our players are doing because they're not getting we're not getting enough out of them, so we'll do more. But then you get less out of them because they're all like miserable and tired and so on.
Yeah, totally.
But in Geelong, they've also had really strong leadership and standards for a long time that you can be your own personality. And there's hilarious stories from Scarlett and Johnson and all those blokes. But when you were there to train, you had to train. You train well and you had to do everything you were supposed to do. And there's a very strong standard of what's expected. And that was the whole speech given to Gary Ablett Jr. when he was younger and he was this mercurial forward, like, you're too good to be, you know, stuffing around and half-assing it. And then, as the story goes, he becomes the Brownlow medalist. So Bailey's not going to be able to do the I'm half in, half out. He's going to have to do everything properly, which he will because he's a professional. But it'll be interesting to see how the strong personalities and the expectations are there compared to, say, where he's been at the Bulldogs, which is a different place.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever heard of like the best club to go to? Is it Geelong?
Yeah, I think Geelong probably, well, for guys that I know, because again, like I grew up being interested in being down the Surf Coast and wanting to surf and wanting to be in Anglesea and all the places that I've grown up. So Geelong was probably the one that made the most sense to us. But when we were good, the Bulldogs was the best place in the comp to be.
Right, okay.
When Richmond were good, easily the best place. Like Richmond never trained, like ever. And we didn't train. We barely trained. There were days when Bevo would just be like, so we lost on the weekend. that wasn't us. Let's not do a review.
Oh, really?
Let's just go out. Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go play basketball.
So that's like when you got into a class in high school and the teacher set up the TV.
Dodgeball.
Or
Dodgeball.
Oh,
you
yeah.
go, you're going to, you know.
We're going to play rounders.
You guys have been really good. You know, we're not going to do that extra session of badminton. I'm going to grade your ball on that already.
Yeah, nice.
We're going to play dodgeball. And then everyone goes, I love this class. I'm going to bring the energy next week.
Yeah, nice.
And it's going to be a good place. And I know my teacher cares about us. And when he asks us to do something or she asks us to do something, I'm going to do it properly because they've given us a bit. And then we're going to give it back. It doesn't work always. You've got to have the right personality and it's, you know, a fickle thing. But that's the principle.
It does make it. You are making it sound like if the Dogs didn't do a preseason and just rocked up round one, happiest team in the world, we don't lose all season.
Here's another example because I understand what you're saying. So here's another example. When I was at the Giants, it was train. It's a main training days. Train, do your 6 or 7 Ks, run. Train, run. So like on a Monday, we do 6 or 7 kilometers of ball drills.
Yep.
Then they'd go, you've got 50 400s to run or whatever the thing we were doing.
50 400s.
What? Definitely not the right number. But that's like we're going to split it up and you're going to do exercise after training, right?
Yeah, okay.
That's a miserable existence.
Yeah.
And the other thing it is...
And you're in Western Sydney.
And you're not getting any better at football because the problem with being really fit and sharp and everything for the first 7 kilometres is guess what? There's an extra 5 or 10 kilometres or 5 or 6 or 7 kilometres in a game where you still got to kick, mark and handball and you haven't practiced that. And then that was the same every week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday was the same. And on a Saturday, we just used to do 2 hours of running. The Bulldogs never did that. The Bulldogs said, when Luke came in, he goes, I want them to run between drills.
Yep.
So you're still going to do the same volume, still going to do the same distance, still going to push it just as hard, but we're going to focus on learning how to play footy and doing football under fatigue. And on the weekends, we used the Saturday session, which used to be misery and hell and hardship, for like fun, super crisp, super sharp skill sessions during preseason, 5 or 6 Ks, high intensity, have a great time, have a great weekend, boys. And then everyone was like, this is awesome. Rather than going, I never want to do that again.
Yeah.
So, but you can't have it all one way or the other. There's obviously a balance, but it's a different world down in Geelong, I think, to where the Bulldogs are at the moment.
So how? Okay, let's talk about the other ones we lost. Caleb and Jack, people you actually played with. So you've got...
Yeah, well, I mean, I played with Bailey for 6 months.
Oh, did you?
5 months.
All right.
I don't know if he was playing ones or twos. I don't know. He was probably playing ones. I don't think he played a lot of twos.
Okay. So, what I mean, you obviously... You know Zane Cordy, who was at St Kilda recently, very well.
He lives right there.
I'm looking at his house.
Yep, and he just got married. Congratulations, Zane. Never thought that was in your future when I first started meeting you.
Friend of the show.
He's a good man.
He's gone from the Saints though now, isn't he?
I don't know. Did he end up getting another deal? Or is he done?
I don't know. I think, who knows? This isn't a St Kilda podcast. We don't care.
No. I'm not going to, I don't want to share any details. I'm not supposed to.
Yeah. Don't want you to get in trouble.
So Jack and Caleb.
So obviously Jack's gone to St Kilda because his name is Jack and that's a legal requirement of that football club.
They need a certain number. They've got a quota.
Yes.
Jacks.
But and how do you think he'll go? I mean, like what I'm asking, the reason I brought up Zane is, Zane would tell you, things that you can't report on here, but like, will their training style suit McRae?
I don't know how Jacko's training has changed. Let me say Jacko used to be, when the footies were out, amazing.
Yep.
Always. Like, to the point where it was too easy for him that he'd sometimes, like, get a bit, like, lackadaisical. Because he's just such a natural footballer. It's insane. But then when, and I, to be clear, when the balls are out and the running, like, on the field training, he's always elite. Amazing. The rest of the day, not that interested. Not that interested in weights, not that interested in anything else, not interested in Pilates, none of that shit. And he never got injured, so it didn't matter. And then he eventually, I think he started having a couple of injuries, so he started taking it a bit more seriously. But again, I haven't seen him train in 5 years. I don't think anyone likes training under Ross. He doesn't strike me as a guy that makes things fun.
He's not letting you play basketball or play dodgeball for a few hours.
Maybe unless it's with your teammate's head or something after they've had a bad game. From all accounts, from anyone who's ever heard anything at any time about Ross, he's a hard ass. And he doesn't think that football should be funny. He thinks it should be hard. Which, again, I'm not a huge believer in. And I'm not just saying that because I couldn't hack it. I'm saying because I've just seen it just destroy too many people's appetite to play.
Yeah.
And you end up in that. And look, if you look at Ross's teams at times, like you end up in that fear mode of like, I don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And any time that you're thinking on a football field, the other team is a lot faster than you because you've got to play on instinct.
Yeah.
So I think Jack will be fine because Jack knows what he's doing. And to be honest, like I reckon Jack will end up being like an All-Australian next year.
Dead set.
Yeah. Well, I just can't fathom, having watched Jack since he was 16 years old, I've never seen him struggle.
Yeah.
And my, again, opinion is, I'm not saying Bevo didn't choose, like, for whatever, Bevo's better placed to pick the team than I am. But Jack's ability to win the ball and be an offensive threat has never been in question for me. I've never seen him struggle to do that. Have I seen him struggle to tackle and chase and all that sort of stuff? Outside of him stuffing his stat sheet, which is where he's amazing at getting tackles.
So what does that mean? Hang on, for the civilians there listening.
So there's a saying in American basketball which is stuffing your stat sheet. So essentially, you know, you want to get stats in all the different columns because it makes you look like you've had a broader impact on the game.
Yes.
And in basketball, it's called a triple-double. So it's assists, rebounds, and points.
Yep.
The equivalent of that in Australia is number one priority is disposals. Number two priority is usually tackles because you can see that very clearly on the stat sheet. And then, like, after that, it doesn't matter. Marks are good, but usually they're uncontested, those types of things. If you can hit the scoreboard, that's fine. But a lot of players who can't hit the scoreboard very well, they deal with the first five columns excellently well. And Jacko's one of them. Not to say Jacko doesn't kick goals, but he wasn't a goal kicker on a regular basis.
The only goal that we all remember him scoring is 2016 prelim.
Oh, watched it again yesterday.
Did ya?
Yeah, well, because it was on their farewell tape. And if you haven't seen that, look at the Western Bulldogs Instagram page. They did a cut-up of Bailey. They definitely didn't do a cut-up of Bailey. It's been a long day. Of Caleb and Jack from that final series. And I think the post was, people leave, but legacies live forever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, nice, all right. You know,
that's good.
Bit early to be like, you know, it wasn't exactly like left on the best terms just yet. But anyway, glad that everyone's happy. And we're all pretending like it hasn't been that difficult of a road recently. But yeah, no, thrilled for Jack. And again, I think he'll dominate. I just can't see a world where he doesn't.
And how do you think Caleb will go?
I don't know. I mean, I was saying it to you before the show, obviously. The challenge I think Caleb's got is, one, he is always batted so far above his weight class, literally and figuratively. But a lot of that, I think, was predetermined on his role in the team as that high half back that he was playing for a long period of time, meant that he didn't directly have to have an opponent. And if he did, he always, again, batted above his weight class. But regardless, he was always close to the ball, and he's so fast and so skillful and so incredibly gifted as a footballer. And I've been on record as saying before, the Caleb that I saw, pound for pound, is the best footballer I've ever seen. He's just tiny. And you have to be so good to play at his size at the AFL level for as long as he has. Yeah. But my concern is that position doesn't seem to be relevant anymore. It doesn't seem to be the same position that it once was. And look, it's changed for a multitude of reasons. I'd imagine the 666 really affected it because you don't have those sort of rolling stoppages where you can throw someone behind the ball, which he did a lot. There's also a lot more transition, it seems like, through the middle of the ground that's very free-flowing rather than like stopping around the middle of the ground, giving him the ability to sort of see the field and be on the front foot and use his strengths. And then also the stand rule puts it at a premium to be able to win, you know, aerial contests essentially because the ball's always in flow and eventually you're going to get found out playing one-on-one. So all of that is to say that I don't think those things advantage Caleb. But again, I don't know. And I also look at North Melbourne, I go, the type of player Caleb is, I would say if you put him on a Hawthorn team, I'd be like, he'll probably have a really good year. But North Melbourne have won 10 games in 4 years. Yeah. So, you know, it's just hard being on a losing side. And they didn't, you know, I've got a North Melbourne supporter who's my boss and he's very optimistic. But
the Bond villain. I've met him.
Yeah, that's right. He's very like optimistic about Parker and Darling and Caleb coming in. it's to me those three. I mean, Parker is probably my favourite pickup because he's at the end of his career, but he's had a terrific career. He's a leader. He's been a captain. Like, awesome. Pick him up. Get him to teach young midfielders for sure.
Yeah.
I don't see those three guys turning them into, almost in the top 8 contender. It's a long way back for where they've come from.
No, but won't they be there because they've got such a great young list in the Wardlaw and your
sure. But
Sheasel.
But it doesn't
Can't they teach them things? Though?
Yeah, well, so that's why I think Parker I think can, because I think that's less about the how and the more about the way that you do things, the like standards you keep, the way you communicate. It's more like the culture of their midfield, let's say, and their building. But you don't magically get to assemble a bunch of high picks and be like, ta-da, it worked. It's not how it works. If you look at the Giants, right, the Giants did get good until they got rid of every concession pick they basically got, except for Toby Green and Josh Kelly. Like, Dylan Shield was gone a long time ago. Cameron was gone. I was gone. Like, everyone who was a high pick is all gone. So they had 5 times as many high picks as North Melbourne did. And at the moment, it feels like probably as many fans.
Well, don't say this to Richmond supporters. They're convinced that this is the superest draft ever, and they've got like 58 picks. Like they're pretty much just going to have it's going to be your mate Vlosten and 17 brand new
and
kids.
Tom Lynch if he comes back. So I'm like again.
So you're saying that Richmond will be rubbish for a long time?
I think, yeah. I mean, let's remember this, right? And, as everyone knows, Nick is one of great friends of mine. So I have spoken to him a little bit about just like where they're at. And they've just gone through the cycle, right? They've gone and they haven't been able to supplement any good players for 4 or 5 years in terms of draft picks. So now they've just got this big gap, and some of the ones they picked up, I'm sure, haven't worked out as well as they'd hoped. Ta-da, now they're rubbish. Don't forget that before Richmond were good for 4 years.
They were crap for 37.
Rubbish for
it was brilliant.
And Carlton used to smash them every single year for a long time. And that doesn't mean, like, even as big of a powerhouse juggernaut club as they are, they're not. And this is the same with North. North are obviously not as big, but North had the big era, right, in the 90s, as far as I understand.
Yes.
It doesn't magically mean that you're going to get back there. It's just like it doesn't magically mean that the Bulldogs weren't going to win a premiership in 16 because they've been shit forever. Even though we'd all been there. But no one was like, they're good. No one ever said they're going to win a premiership.
Except for you guys.
Well, they didn't say that about us either.
No, I know, but you yourself said it.
Yeah, exactly. But every club does that.
Yeah,
It's only true. It's only a good story and when it actually happens. What is it? Even a broken clock's right twice a day.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think I really, really hope that both Caleb and Jack have fantastic 2 or 3 more years in their career. I don't think it's going to be 10. They're both, Caleb will be 29 next year and Jack is 31 next year.
Okay.
So, father time is undefeated, as they say. One of those
2 years to go, probably, for
stupid
both
cliches. No, I think, maybe I think too highly of Jack. And, it hasn't been evident in his form for the last couple of years, but again, my opinion is there's extenuating circumstances for that. So,
yeah. And what do you know about Matt Kennedy? We've got in this guy from Carlton. My son had the observation that he looks like he's made of Lego.
Yes. Bit of the blockhead
Bit of the blockhead. Does look,
not a bad thing.
Isn't it? Yeah, sure.
Luke Parker looks like he's made of...
Trent Cotchin had the Lego hair for many years.
Yeah, that's right. The hair's one thing, though. The head is another. The blockhead that Luke Parker's got is... it's done pretty well for him. So I don't know. I haven't watched a heap of his footy, but I have spoken to a few people who are, let's say, close to the situation. And I think his issue was that at Carlton, there's only so many spots in the midfield around Cripps and those types. And as obviously phenomenal as Paddy Cripps is, he's not winning any 20-yard dashes anytime soon. He's a big midfielder. And so trying to find the right mix of speed around him was always the reason that supposedly...
He's just weighed down by all those Brownlow votes.
Yeah, that's not good. What a debacle.
We haven't really talked about that, but Bont getting absolutely nothing again. We sort of did it. You could just listen to last year's post Brownlow episode,
but
where
last year he got
the same
29
complaints.
votes or something, didn't he?
Yeah.
27. Anyway.
But on Matt Kennedy, I've done some actual research, and I got a quote from Andy Marr from SEN in the front bar. I just said, what's Kennedy like? It's good citizen, handy gap filler, tough and brave. Not exactly sure how you'll use him, but he's handy.
Yeah, don't you love being called a gap filler? Call him Sally's, you know?
Well, I also asked another comedian mate who's a big Carlton fan, and I said, what's Matt Kennedy like? He said, solid, inside mid, strong, can go forward, slow as hell though, feels like you've traded out McRae for a slightly taller McRae.
The Jacko's mind moves so much faster than everyone, so he doesn't always get caught out except for when he doesn't want to tackle.
Yeah, apparently he's a good overhead mark up forward.
Yeah, so interesting. That bit interests me. I'm a big fan of finding some hybrid midfielders because, again, we've spoken about this on the podcast before. The issue with having three stock midfielders like we have at the moment is not them. It's everyone else that ends up suffering because you can't train Riley West to be an inside midfielder at the AFL level if he can't get 5 minutes into the midfield every quarter behind Bont, Treloar and Libba. And again, those three are amazing. But sometimes the best players that you have hinder the performance of the rest of the team because you don't get the ability to develop players. And then all of them will get injured or retire at some stage and all of them will decline at some stage. And the club has to be able to sustain longer than just 2 or 3 people. And I think that's been one of our weaknesses over the years in the last 4 or 5 in particular, where we just don't seem to have the next up. They're not big enough. They're not strong enough. They're not experienced enough. They don't work well enough with the other 2 that are in there at any one of those stages. And then they're never trusted enough or long enough to get a good run in there over a period of time. And that's multiple weeks and multiple matches in a position. Like, that's how you get trust.
Yeah.
It can't be a quarter at a time.
But this is what's going to happen when you have 3 of the greatest players to ever play for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and they're
all at
3 of
the
the
same
best, 25 players in the league?
Yeah, definitely.
You know? I mean, it's pretty funny when Libba's like the worst of the 3 based on current form.
Yeah.
Like, that's hilarious, you know? So, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. Here's the question, Danny. Do you feel like we got better? Because that's the question that everyone asks.
Do we get better?
Did we get better during trade period?
No, wasn't it a bit of what is the American term salary dumping as well? Like, so Matt Kennedy's not going to be on as much as McRae, so that's good for our salary cap. Or
I would say, I have no idea, but I would say Kennedy will almost be free.
Yeah,
because by the time that Jacko goes out, no, we would have swallowed some of McRae's. No, Kennedy will definitely be an addition. So we would have swallowed half of Jacko. He will end up costing the same as Jacko.
Okay, all right. Well,
because we would have taken half of Jacko's salary.
Did we get better? Probably not. Then we've lost a lot of experience, but depends.
But even if we got the money, we're not going to spend. Who are we going to spend it on?
We got to pay for the renovations.
Yeah. I think look, the fact we end up with 17, I think is good. I think 17 for a guy who hadn't played that well for 2 years is pretty
good. Yeah. Yep.
Going to hurt the merchandise department.
Well, no, because a lot of people are like, getting rid of their Basilenka beanies, and they'll need a new beanie, so they can go and buy a brand new beanie from the Bulldog shop.
Yeah, I don't think it was just Bulldog supporters who were buying Baz's stuff. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I think 17 is a really good pickup. Get 25 for Caleb. And again, please don't no one take this as an offensive thing. 25 for Caleb based on how much he'd been utilised in the last 2 years is a good deal.
Yep.
I would say that's more than I expected. And we got, if you really think about it, you go back to when we picked him up. We picked him up for pick 44 or 42 or something, 40 something.
So we've upgraded.
We've not only jumped 20 picks in the draft, we got a premiership and we got, did we get an All-Australian? We got close to one.
Caleb got an All-Australian, yeah,
and
at some point.
And we got 10 amazing years out of him, and we hopefully depart on good terms. So pretty great.
Do you know who picked 25? Did you say?
Mm-hmm.
You know who we got at pick 25 in the past? Josh Dunkley.
Ooh.
Yeah, Josh Dunkley. Your mate Dan McStay was also a pick 25.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good player.
Kobe Stevens? No, he was.
Kobe Stevens is not on here.
He was number 25.
Former Bulldogs player Nathan Jakura was 25.
Oh, yes. He had some good games.
Daniel Chick was He was 25. This is a great website, by the way. Draftguru.com.au. Get involved, everyone. Worsfold.
When are they going to pay?
Worsfold was 25.
When are those blokes going to pay the invoice?
It's one bloke called Dave, and he's not making any money from it. He's just a nerd. He's on my YouTube, by the way. Check out the video.
I knew Dave.
Yeah, no, Dave Slutskin's his name. Big Saints fan.
Oh, right. Yeah. There you go. Poor bastard.
I know. I did these videos with him for my YouTube, and I had to edit out so much because we were doing like, what's the best trade ever, and he would go on these tangents about how St Kilda got screwed by so many times, and I just have to cut it all out. Anyway, hey, that's our reaction to trade week. Do you think we got better?
I don't think we got worse.
Cool.
I think it'll be interesting. So it's better off at us having 17 and 25 this year. Do we have another pick in the top? Do you know? What have we got?
No, not exactly sure. Hang on, I can find out on draftguru.com.au.
Well, whilst you find out. So I think pick 17, pick 25 in a draft before it gets compromised.
We got 17, 25, 35, 48 and 90.
Well, time will tell is always the answer to that question.
Of course. Yeah.
But given that we've got four picks in the first 40 or whatever it is, much better spent this year than next year, based on Tassie's coming in next year, which will destroy the entire draft lineup.
Okay, so do it now. Yeah.
But having said that, we must have obviously traded out of something, because wouldn't we have had, what pick would we have had?
Before the trade.
Before 17.
Oh, God.
We must have...
No, we
13 or something?
No, we had like 17's as high as we were going to get.
Which doesn't make any sense because we finished... What did we finish?
Yeah.
8th? But it's probably just pushed back with all the concession picks or whatever. Is that? I thought that gets applied later.
Mate, I am...
It's too confusing.
Yeah.
My point being is we've got a few picks in the top 40. Time will tell whether we pick the right people. We have the best young spine in the league, no doubt. We have the pillars of our team for the next 5 or 6 years, which is amazing. We just seem to need to find the salt for the meal to make it all work. And I hope we can either find it in the draft over the next couple of years. I don't think, if I had to guess now, I don't think next year we're going to win a premiership, would be my guess.
How dare you?
But I think we should. There's no reason why we shouldn't improve. I think we pick up a very solid midfielder in Kennedy, which will certainly help us with our issue with age in that part of the ground and lack of capability in the rest of the team. Not that they're not capable, they haven't been developed, I don't think yet. And then I also think that we realistically need to see some improvement from a couple of our smaller players. Like we need to see Sanders have a really good year. I think that'd be amazing.
Got to actually play Buslinger.
Yeah, he's playing behind the ball. Yep. We've got some age down behind the ball as well. Jones had another great year, but he's 34 now. Lob's 32.
Yep.
So we it feels like at least from a key position point of view, we're in a really sort of key window. But the rest we've got to try and find those role players, and we've got to find that elusive fire that you can't just coach it. It's like it's a strange mixture of the emotion of the game and the game style and plan and all of those types of things. The relationships in the team, that magic sauce that Brisbane found at the end of the year. That's exactly what everyone's looking for.
Yeah, and they did it the hard way. I'd sort of forgotten until we were talking about the
Giants. They came from 5th though, didn't they?
They were 5th, yeah. I mean, it's nothing. Yeah, exactly. Anyone could do that.
First team from 5th.
No, Crows won it from 5th in 98. But
don't bring that up.
Yeah, no, I won't. While we're talking of young teams and green shoots, our women had a great
massive win
on Thursday, smashing the Blues 28-61. They were really getting flogged by the media, the pups, just for a boring game plan and overly defensive, and just they were blamed for everything. Like
I feel like the commentary around our girls has been for the last few years that they're like young and developing, but
always we're up to like our third rebuild since the premiership.
I'm like, how long can these people be young for?
Well, every time we rebuild, bloody Freo steals our best player again. Or like it
does feel like we have shed too many, but we also got in early. So that's part of being. You can be what is it? You can be early, which is just as bad as being wrong. You know what I mean? So just because you're right. If you're too early, you end up being in the same position.
What's something like 3/4 of the captains in the AFLW are former Bulldogs?
Yeah, which, is
it's
crazy.
Ridiculous.
And poor Ali absolutely destroyed her foot or something.
Man. So, West Coast player just absolutely took her out. She was having a shot for goal, took her out below the knees. It was like Easton Wood taking out Hanbury. And,
I did do trade radio and bring that up
Did
with
ya?
him.
How'd
he
he
goes,
go?
he goes, oh, well, what do you remember from the day? I'm like, Dan, your knee getting destroyed by Easton was one of the more horrific things I've ever seen. Sorry about that.
And I've met him and he has got a good laugh about it.
Yeah. He won one in 2012, I think. So
Yeah, he's fine.
I'm glad that he got one. But yeah, I'm like, mate, that was horrible. And then you trying to come, because like, if you ever watch the grand final, you haven't noticed this detail. After he does his knee, he comes on, he tries to kick the ball, and they do a replay. The ball hits the middle of his shin because he's so worried about hitting his foot, and it goes like 17 meters. I'm like,
Everything went right for us that day.
Game.
Staying on the women though, the best players against Carlton, and they've had brilliant seasons. Izzy Pritchett, who's had just one of the best seasons I've ever seen a Bulldog have. Dom Carruthers, Jess Fitzgerald. What do those three women have in common?
They've all been in Tom Campbell's studios.
They have all been guests on the Danny Boyd pod. So
Thanks for translating that for
everyone,
the
we call this the Tom Campbell Studios. Why do we call it? Why did we do that? Tom Campbell, now a Melbourne player, great bloke.
Well, we can. The funny thing is, though, we're gonna have to come up with a different name because the person who he reminds me of most now is Journeyman Giles, Jonathan Giles. Do you remember him?
No.
So he played at. I think he got drafted at Port Adelaide. Did not look like a footballer's proverbial. Like we got to like this for those. Google Jonathan Giles, Port Adelaide.
Okay.
Then he went to West Coast.
Right.
Then he went to the Giants. And then I think he ended up at Essendon or something. He played 4 years. 4 different clubs, for like 12 years. And he's like the palest, skinniest looking human being you've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
No. You've got to do it when he's at Port Adelaide. That's what I said.
this is good. This is good for a podcast.
And
us looking at photos.
And Tom's obviously gone on now, and we're gonna have to find it for you. Maybe they don't have it anymore. It was that long ago. Was it Port Adelaide or Adelaide?
Photos were not invented then.
I don't know. Anyway, I'll find it.
I don't think we're renaming the studio the Jonathan Giles Studio.
But no, what I'm saying is we need to find a another name for Campbell that is obviously reminiscent of his travelling band status across across the competition.
Well, but let's keep this to
Caravan Campbell. Caravan Campbell. That's it.
We need an obscure Footscray player to name these studios. And by the way, the studio is just, Tom's spare room. But I tell you what, this is just a dumb thing that me and my mates do. Just tell us your favourite obscure Bulldogs player. Jose Romero. So that's
I saw his son the other day at the races.
Jose Romero.
Michael, yeah.
How's he going?
Yeah, he was all right.
Oh, I guess do you know who's back? Bob Murphy.
Oh, I saw the Bont the other week too.
Hey, we got to get Bont on.
And Jaden. I didn't ask Bont about going on the pod.
I've asked him.
Didn't seem appropriate at the time.
What was he
saw
doing?
Jaden, the property steward from the Premiership.
Okay.
Saw him as well.
How's he going?
He's good. He's in Brisbane.
All right.
He's just come off another flag.
Fair enough.
He was the runner for the flag too. He said it was. I said, how was it? He goes, mate. Well, it was a bit different to the 2016 one because, I was actually like on the field doing like the running, and he's like, I just didn't want to make a mistake. Because obviously there's that story of Alex Woodward, who was the Collingwood runner and ended up giving away a free kick or getting a mark taken off Ginnivan in the 2017 or 18, whenever they lost.
Right, okay. Yeah, 18 they lost.
And it was they end up kicking a goal up the other end. It was horrible.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Anyway, Alex is a great guy, and he's doing a lot of talking around the mental health stuff at the moment. So,
mate, we all know why Brisbane won the flag, though. Dale Morris, assistant coach.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But also, they've also got Jaden from the Bulldogs, and
exactly.
Dunkley, and,
exactly.
Anyway, we'll work a bit more of it. But he goes, I said, how was it? He goes, mate, well, it was actually awesome because the whole second half, the game was
you've won. Party
so
time.
he goes, and I hope Jaden doesn't mind me saying, he goes, I reckon I ran 1 kilometre for the whole second half because there was nothing to do. There's no message to get out there. We're dominating. Just do your changes, So,
I wonder what Fagan even said at 3/4 time.
I don't know.
I might have told this story on the pod before. I did a sportsman's with Jimmy Bartell once.
Yeah.
And I asked, what did you say? 2007, that you've won the grand final at 3/4 time. What do you say at at what did Bomber say at 3/4 time to, there's what did he say? And he started apparently doing the whole, all right, boys, have a look around. You've played your whole lives for this. Enjoy the moment. And Tom Harley went, Bomber, shut the F up. And then eyeballed them all and went, I want 8 goals this quarter. We've got to make the rest of the league scared of us. Do not take your foot off the accelerator.
Didn't work.
I think they got 5 goals.
No. Didn't work making them scared of them next year, did it?
Well, in 2008, everyone was scared of Geelong.
Yeah, until Hawthorn.
Well, yeah, they lost that. But, that's because Hawthorn cheated and the AFL literally changed the rules afterwards.
Oh, they change rules after us too, Danny. Great teams do that,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, so when are we coming back? We'll do something about the draft, probably, which is in a few weeks.
Yeah, we better.
Obviously, we'll come back and do some AFLW. There's a few more games there. We can still make finals.
All the Patreons will still go ahead.
This went out to the Patreons last week, or if you're a Patreon, this isn't going out to free to air until next week. But so you're getting, and we'll do some bonus episodes for you fine people because you keep on supporting us. And I've also got merch on my YouTube channel. You can get stubby holders of all the banners from the 2016 final series.
That's right. And we do need to probably think up the next batch of merch for the two of us, actually.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I think stubby holders are a great idea.
We'll do our own stubby holders.
Yeah.
We could also do T-shirts or something like some catchphrases.
T-shirts are okay. I think hats and stubby holders do well.
That's a good idea.
Because you can just do a sprinkling of what you like. You don't have to do the full uniform.
Yeah. What should our hat be?
I don't know. On-air meeting.
We need things to...
In session.
We've got... right. Tom, present. Danny, present.
Who's reading them? Who's doing the notes today? The minutes, I should say.
Because I say things like "Hey Pack," or we get a hat that says "the greatest football club in the universe." It's a great football club. The multiverse.
Multiverse is probably taken.
Sorry, Kylie. Sorry, President Watson Wheeler.
She's like, Danny, Tom, I didn't want to sue you, but it's out of my hands.
Yeah, well, we're not going to do Mickey Mouse hats.
No, well,
yeah. If anyone's got any ideas, we could do that. You always said we should do a T-shirt of the artwork of the...
I think we could do some very funny plays on the "you on my shoulders." Like, I feel like there's more to be milked out of that one.
Oh, really? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Can you imagine a hat where, you've got me across the front and then you, coming out the top of the hat, Like a full gimmick.
That is the dumbest idea I've ever
But like a full gimmick. I feel like there's some creative ways we could do something with. Maybe we continue of the trend of photoshopping you in to other photos.
Oh, now we're talking. Yeah, let's so Ted Whitten covered in mud, and there's you and me next to him.
No one can see that. We're only on it. But I was making a funny face.
Yeah, just us with our arms around Teddy with the thumb up.
Yeah, I think there's some merit to that.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Probably the blokes who took those photos aren't going to sue us. Oh,
yeah, that's a good point. Do you know what would be great if that horrible image of Rowan Smith punching the ground after the 97 prelim?
Yeah,
we somehow
your head and me going.
We somehow flip that into him celebrating.
Yeah. There's work to be done.
All right,
work to be done.
Well, good meeting, good episode. Thanks for joining in, everyone. There's really let's be brutally honest. There is, apart from the AFLW, there's not much to talk about. As much as they say that
there's not much to talk about. In general.
Yeah.
We're not going to start doing this 2024 presidential election. So,
no.
It's a council election at the moment. That's very important.
There is how many candidates in your ward? I've only got
400.
I've only got 3.
Mate, there's about 50 around here. Every time I go past a sign, I'm like, I haven't seen that one before.
Yeah.
Where'd this one come from? And they're all independents. And I got no idea who they are.
We've just got, just to explain, in Northcote, this will surprise you. We've only got 3 candidates. One's Labor, one's Green, one's Socialist.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. we're about the same around here.
Communist Party couldn't get up.
Yeah, well. It's not that dissimilar around here, honestly.
Yeah.
It's all, Anyway, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of independents running this year, though. Sign of the times. Cooter's running.
That's right.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, Cooter's...
for mayor.
Cooter's running for Lord Mayor of Melbourne. I see Cooter a lot because Andrew Christou owns the fish and chip shop near me.
Well, the best thing about Cooter is that every 2 or 3 years he pops up with something new, and he's gone from whatever the kebab thing that he used to do. Souvlaki Hut. Then he's done a fitness thing. Then he's done a leadership thing. Like he just does something new.
And he's coaching at Ivanhoe,
and now he's got Lord Mayor. Absolute left hand turn from everything else he's ever done. It would be very interesting to see if there's like a debate that they run between him and the other candidates. And
Which
they're like,
which bulldog should run for me? I mean,
there's an obvious one.
there is an obvious one who's
Darcy.
just I mean, I think he's going to run for federal politics.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's just my hearsay.
I don't think he will. But, I mean, I don't know anything. You don't know anything.
We don't know anything.
This is a pure
But
speculation.
I'm talking more for comedic reasons. Who would be a good Lord Mayor of Melbourne, former Bulldogs player?
Bigsy.
Bigsy, yeah, Bigsy for mayor. There's a T-shirt.
Yeah, Bigsy for mayor. Bigsy for president. Well, we got a few. There's plenty of characters in the Bulldogs history that could be.
Bigsy Liberatore ticket. That's what we're getting behind.
No. You can't have them both on the same ticket.
Yeah, we can.
Secretary of Defence. All right, that's enough. I'm going to go back to work. Great work, everyone. Hey, we'll be around.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on the socials.
Go Dogs.
I gave my childhood to that role of the red, white and blue sea, and the knowledge that you had two loves, the Bulldog boys and me. 20 years on, I feel that longing hanging in September air. But the reason I go every week is to pretend you're still there. And they will find the glory one day, and I will throw it at your feet. It's a long, long road they're running for you, the dogs of Footscray streets. It's a long, long road they're running for you, the dogs of Footscray streets.